everyone. Miss Naidu here, Teacher Study Tips. So there are two types of memories. One is short-term, which is day-to-day working memory. This is when your brain stores some information for a few seconds to several minutes before letting it go and you forgetting it. But if it is something you want to store, you want to hold on to and recall later, you have to somehow change it into the second type of memory, which is called long-term memory. So now, how do we turn it into long-term memory that you can recall for an exam? So here are 3 proven ways to improve your long-term memory. The brain follows neural nerves or pathways to check for what is stored there. This pathway gets strengthened by repeated recall or retrieving same information until it banks it in for a really long time. Here are 3 very good ways that you could memorize. Number 1. So if you are someone who makes your own notes or flashcards and uses them on weekly basis, you would have a good chance of retrieving that information during your exam. However, flashcards are time consuming to make. So you have to make them well in advance. And you could buy the cards, type your questions on computer and Google Slides, print, cut, paste to reduce time in handwriting. On one side of the card, the questions are there, and the other side, the answers. Then you test yourself, actively doing this and learning by saying aloud or ask a friend or a partner to help with the learning process. Divide the cards into piles that are the one that is hard to remember and one that is easy to remember. The ones that you are going to look over more time and more often until they become easy are obviously the hard ones. You could also use different color coding system for different subjects: English, white, biology, blue, and so on. Don't forget, you must look over the hard pile until they no longer belong to the hard pile, so that you can actively recall it very easily. But remember, the cards are hard, time consuming. Number 2, if you are someone who is creative, use mnemonics, which are letters, patterns, rhymes, which help you to remember. For example, Roy G. Biv is a name that represents the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. It is much easier to make a mnemonic. Another example, the taxonomy hierarchy in science. Now, kids prefer cheese over fried green spinach. What does that stand for? Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. When I was in year 7, my science teacher asked us to learn the first 20 elements in the periodic table for the next day. At first I was lost trying to learn it. Then I devised a pretty song, a pretty ordinary song, doing the symbols of the elements. Now it goes like this, don't laugh. Which I've never forgotten actually, so let's see. It goes ha, he, le, bok, naf, ne, nam, gal, sips, kla, ka, ka. Okay. Keep the capitals and small letters when you're writing it down. Learn the symbols as well as you go. So I wrote this down a few times, and this worked so well, I did that for many other concepts, making rhymes and songs. But I refined it more when I was in year 11, and I devised what I call memory grid, which I will show you next, which is my number 3 proven method. Memory grid is what I have used on many occasions, which works every time. I have also used it with my students. Now, you might need different size memory grids for different concepts. The brain has many ways of remembering the information, and your brain remembers the patterns in those memory boxes. I will do a more elaborate video on this, this idea, if you would like to send me a message if you want to know more about it. Draw a grid of any size and fill them with words or quotes or mnemonics. You are using many senses to learn in this case, which means once you become familiar with this, you'll find it very easy to remember. So, I will use 20 elements of periodic table as an example. And you very quickly remember the grid size that works and the grids you don't fill, the pattern in the grids that allowed you to fill it. For this, I construct 8x4 grid, and then I fill them with symbols like this. Start with H for hydrogen in the first row, first column. Then you can put HE in the first row, which is for helium, second column, and the eighth column, or second column or the eighth column, whichever you find easiest. This makes the words and letters come to mind much quicker. Then fill in the rest as shear. So when you are recalling it, it only takes you seconds to reproduce it. If you have another way of remembering the grids, please write in the comments, because my students came up with other patterns for each grid as well. Also, please give these methods a go. Let me know how you are going. Finally, I would like to mention that sleep resets our brain and helps to store fresh memory easier. Tired and overworked brain has less capability of learning or even storing new information. So doing little exercise, maybe skipping rope or for a few minutes and before sitting down to study is important, because the movement of blood will help oxygen reach the brain faster and makes it more alert for your learning purpose. Healthy diet and water to stay hydrated will also help. Okay, everyone, that was hard work. Please press like button and please subscribe. Thank you and happy studying. Bye for now.